Welcome back. You're watching The Lead on eNCA, DSTV channel 403. To the story now, government is deploying more members of the army to help enforce the lockdown in Cape Town. This is due to a spike in infections there in the past 7 days. For the next 2 days, Minister Cele is visiting the province's hotspots to monitor compliance. Ronald Masinda tracking that story for us. He joins us now live. So, Ronald, the minister is saying that the ban on alcohol, of course, having a positive impact during this pandemic. What else is he saying?
Well, Shahan, despite the alcohol industry facing billions of rands of losses since the end of March last year and mass job losses and businesses shutting down, Minister Cele says there are positive signs in terms of the alcohol banning, saying that hospitals have actually had far fewer admissions in terms of those who have been involved in alcohol-related incidences. It's a sentiment that Western Cape Premier Alan Winde also shared recently, saying that this is not the time to politic and that this is not the time to call on the alcohol ban to be lifted, and that the most important thing is to take care of this second wave because many hospitals, especially here in the Western Cape, are under huge strain. As of yesterday, the 4th of January, we also heard that there's been over 44,000 active cases here in the Western Cape alone, with nearly 150 deaths. And it's for that reason why the Western Cape government and Cele seem to be in agreement that now is not the time for the alcohol ban to be lifted. Let's take a listen further to what Minister Cele had to say earlier.
Well, I don't know. I don't make the economic laws, but for the South African police and the health at the especially at the present moment, the non-availability of alcohol made history on the 31st when nobody was admitted on a trauma center in Baragwana, I think in many other hospitals. It does tell that there is an impact of not having the alcohol.
Of course, some on the West Coast have urged the minister to visit beaches there. What seems to be the problem?
Well, earlier on we were in Vredendal where Cele visited the area. We heard from activists there in Vredendal that quite a number of people have been breaking regulations in areas near Vredendal and also Langapan in terms of going to the beach during this actual ban. And we also heard, Shahan, that even the police, they seem to be also be working in cahoots with so many people from these areas, protecting people to actually go to the beach and not actually, calling them into order. So this is what Cele had to say when I asked him about that question earlier.
Well, I'd love to understand better about these privately owned beaches. But what I know now, going to the beach is not allowed, it's prohibited in South Africa, whether it's your beach or it's a national beach or whatever it is. We're here to work on that compliance personally with the provincial commissioner, divisional commissioner ROS from the national office. We are here at Vredendal cluster now. We'll go to Vredenberg. We'll be visiting some beaches, 2 or 3, to see to it that everybody complies. It's a law, it's a regulation. If you don't do it, you're breaking the law, so you'll have to be arrested.
All right, Ronald, so let's talk about the SANDF deployment. How is that going to work?
So what we do know at this stage is that Cele will be visiting the Garden Route, visiting areas such as the Wilderness, Knysna and Plettenberg Bay, where he did confirm today that there will be a redeployment of SANDF soldiers. It's for the reasons why, because there's a lack of manpower, the police and law enforcement, there's not enough law enforcement and police in those areas, and that is why there will be deployment of SANDF soldiers. We're also hearing that also here in some parts of Cape Town there will also be deployment of SANDF soldiers. And the concern really on the Garden Route has been that it's been a hotspot, and we knew earlier, even during the festive season when beaches were closed down, the Western Cape government was also opposed to the idea of beaches being closed down, but numbers have continued to rise in terms of COVID-19 cases. And Cele will be monitoring the situation tomorrow. He says that the deployment of soldiers started today and will also continue to tomorrow, given that they will be going as different groups. So Bheki Cele is saying that has confirmed that the deployment of soldiers will take place. It is a redeployment because in June last year, we also saw the presence of the SANDF on the Garden route. So, Shahan, it seems like it's a key area where the SANDF and the police and law enforcement must focus on, because it is a very important holiday destination for many people, and the concerns are that numbers continue to rise in some parts of the Garden route.
All right, we're going to leave it right there, Ronald Masinda.